What do you prefer? A life filled with risks you boldly took, or an existence imprisoned by regrets you can never forget? Think about that for a moment. How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because of fear? How many dreams remain dormant within you? While life's relentless clock continues its unstoppable march forward, the truth that few have the courage to face is that you're being robbed daily, not by some external thief, but by the enemy that dwells within you. Procrastination, fear, doubt. These are the true thieves of your dreams, the silent assassins of your potential. Look around you. Those people you admire didn't reach their position by waiting for the perfect moment. They understood that the risk of trying is always smaller than the certainty of regret. What will you choose today? Will you continue in the comfort that is silently destroying your potential, or take the leap that could transform your life forever? This is the decision that defines who you truly are. This is the moment where your future self is watching, hoping you'll make the choice that breaks the chains of mediocrity once and for all. Do you know what all great success stories have in common? A decisive moment, an instant where someone chose to act when everyone else was still contemplating. That singular moment where courage overcame fear and action triumphed over analysis paralysis. Let me share something that forever changed my perspective. Years ago, I met an entrepreneur who had lost everything. His business had collapsed, his savings had vanished, and his confidence was shattered into 1,000 pieces. It seemed he had reached the end of the road, with no light visible at the end of the tunnel. While everyone advised him to find a safe job and settle for a mediocre life, he made the bravest decision possible. With just 20 seconds of insane courage, he sent a proposal to a client who seemed unreachable. A proposal so bold, so audacious, that anyone else would have considered it absurd or delusional. It was the equivalent of David challenging Goliath, armed with nothing but conviction and desperate courage. And do you know what happened? That client not only accepted, but became the catalyst for his rebirth. Today, he runs $1 million company that began with those 20 seconds of pure courage. 20 seconds that separated a life of regret from a life of fulfillment. 20 seconds that made all the difference. Have you ever wondered how long fear actually lasts before taking action? Studies show that the adrenaline spike lasts approximately 20 seconds. 20 seconds of bravery is all you need to change the entire course of your life. 20 seconds to send that email, make that call, submit that application, or speak those words that might change everything. The difference between the people you admire and those trapped in mediocrity isn't talent, it isn't luck, it's their willingness to act when fear hits hardest. It's their ability to understand that temporary discomfort is the price of admission to an extraordinary life. And that price, it's always worth paying. But here's the revelation that will transform your perspective. Regret is mathematically predictable, while failure is merely a possibility. This understanding changes everything about how we approach risk and decision-making in our lives. Think about it. The regret of not taking action has a 100% probability. It's an absolute certainty that will haunt you. The pain of asking yourself, what if I had tried, will accompany you until your final day on this earth. It will whisper in your ear during quiet moments, a permanent resident in the back of your mind. However, failure, when trying, is just one possibility among many. Perhaps it's a 50% chance 30% or even less. And here's the most liberating part. Even if you fail, you will have eliminated regret from the equation. You will have the peace of knowing you gave it your best shot. You will have data, experience, and wisdom that only comes from taking action. When was the last time you heard someone say, "I regret having tried"? It's almost non-existent. What you hear instead is, "I regret not having the courage." Even those who fail spectacularly rarely regret the attempt itself. They regret not being better prepared, not starting sooner, not persisting longer. It's like that old gardener who once told me with a laugh, "Do you know the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. And do you know the second best time? Today." His weathered hands and sun-kissed face told the story of someone who understood the value of taking action without delay. Your life is that tree. You can lament not having planted it sooner, or you can pick up the shovel right now and create the shade under which you'll live tomorrow. The choice, as always, remains yours alone. When you invest in yourself, when you risk for your dreams, you're planting that tree. And though the path may be filled with obstacles, the reward of living without the weight of regret makes every hardship worthwhile. The temporary pain of discipline and courage is infinitely lighter than the permanent burden of regret. So how do we transform this knowledge into action? Here are 3 concrete steps you can implement today. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. First, identify your 20-second zone. That action you've been postponing that you know could change everything. Maybe it's making that important call, sending that proposal, finally enrolling in that course, or having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Identify it right now. Put a name to it, write it down, make it real. What's that one action that your fear has been keeping you from taking? Second, establish a personal ultimatum. Mark on your calendar a specific day and time to execute that 20-second action. No excuses, no postponements, no negotiating with yourself. The commitment is to your future. Remember that every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of all success. Third, create your risk budget. Just as you set aside money for expenses, set aside time and resources to take calculated risks. If you're not failing occasionally, you're not risking enough. Not all risks will pay off, but the ones that do will compensate for all the others. Make failing forward part of your growth strategy. And remember, obstacles will appear. Fear will try to paralyze you again. But now you know that this fear will only last 20 seconds if you decide to push through it. 20 seconds of discomfort for potentially years of satisfaction and growth. Isn't that a trade worth making? What would happen if for the next 30 days, you committed to taking one brave action each day? It doesn't have to be enormous. Small acts of courage accumulate to create an extraordinary life. Like compound interest, these small actions create massive returns over time. While everyone else is waiting for the perfect moment, you'll be building momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. Which would your future self prefer to carry? Which burden would you choose if you could see the long-term consequences of today's decisions? Before we part ways, there's a fundamental truth you must understand. Your life is being written right now. With each decision, with each risk you take or avoid. The pen is in your hand, and today's page is still blank, waiting for your courage to fill it. Dreams are not fantasies we see while sleeping. They are fires that keep us from sleeping. And that fire within you is waiting for you to give it oxygen so it can transform into an unstoppable blaze. That fire is your purpose-seeking expression, your potential demanding to be realized. 1 year from now, you will be somewhere. The only question is, will it be a place you consciously chose, or one where you ended up by default? Will you be closer to your dreams, or will you still be making the same excuses that have kept you stuck for years? Take that risk today. Give those 20 seconds of courage. Invest in yourself when no one else will. Because in the end, we don't regret the risks we take, but the opportunities we let slip away. We don't regret failure nearly as much as we regret inaction. And remember, the greatest risk is taking no risk at all. Playing it safe is often the riskiest choice you can make in a world that rewards bold action and punishes stagnation. Now is your moment. The clock is ticking. What brave action will you take today that your future self will eternally thank you for? Share it in the comments. And together, let's build a community of people who choose risk over regret, who choose growth over comfort, who choose to live fully rather than merely exist. The decision is yours. It always has been. And your future self is watching, hoping that today is the day you finally choose courage over comfort, action over analysis, and risk over regret.